Welcome to Geeks Corner. I'm Mr. Daps.
I'm Katie.
And we're so excited that you're here on a warm summer night
It's toasty.
at Geeks Corner.
As Greece once said, but oh, those summer nights. I think, yeah, it's currently 81 degrees.
No, that's better
At
than I thought it was.
8:30 p.m. in the night time.
There you go. What should people do, Katie?
You should go to, I still don't know what to say here.
Wherever you are.
Wherever you are. I want you, if you're hearing the sound of my voice, which I hope means you're in the internet somewhere, go into the chat on the internet wherever you are and tell us who is my favorite Muppet. Great choice. My favorite Muppet is Beaker because I love Beaker.
Kermit the Frog here. I see a couple votes for Fozzie and Beaker. Can't go wrong with any of those.
Sure.
We'll see if anybody says the Swedish Chef. Uncle Deadly, I see.
My other favorite Muppet though is Miss Piggy.
Also classic.
Which is really funny because it's like I have Beaker, who's Beaker, and then Miss Piggy.
Very different ends of the spectrum.
Extremely.
We're going to talk more about Miss Piggy in a little bit, but before we get into that, we're going to talk about cruising. Because the Disney Cruise Line revealed more details about the Disney adventure, specifically something called Disney Imagination Garden, which looks like it's a kind of a promenade thing in the middle of the ship that's a park that has a stage at one end, and it has a art castle thing on the other end. It
almost looks like a stained glass piece, but it's not.
Well, what we can do is we can actually show you, perhaps, if technology works. This is what it looks like. We're going to provide commentary as this happens, because I think it'll let us do that.
We hope.
So here is a rendering of what Disney Imagination Garden looks like. Oh, there it is. See, here we go. And I think it's going to start moving. This is from one of the restaurants.
Ooh.
It has two restaurants in it. One's on either side of the boat, ship, whatever you call it. You can sit inside or outside. And if you're outside, you can see what's happening up on that stage. And off in the distance, you can see the castle artwork
thing.
Yeah. I love the trees and the way it really does. Like they said they were inspired by a storybook, like a pop-up storybook.
Yeah, and it feels like that.
It totally does. It has a really nice vibe to it. And if you didn't know better, you would never know this wasn't originally intended to be a Disney ship.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, this looks like it could be the prettiest Disney ship yet in many regards. And they literally had to make do with a ship that was already, I think, halfway done when they bought it. And so you go back here, there's a nice little dining, seating area back here.
This reminds me of two things.
And then there's that artwork of the castle. Keep going.
I was on an Icon class ship for Royal Caribbean in February. And this reminds me of their Central Park area combined with their boardwalk area.
And they have a really good documentary about the Icon ships on Travel Channel or something, you know, one of those. If you look it up, you'll find it. But that's what this garden looks like. And that's not the only thing that's happening in this garden. Is not this peaceful Disney Mickey Mouse Sorcerer's Apprentice thing happening. The other part that I find fascinating about this is where Avengers Assemble is going to take place, which is fascinating to me, because you're going to have all of your favorite superheroes, and then your new favorite superhero, Deadpool.
Well, he's an anti-hero, but
sure, but it's going to be Deadpool's first appearance on the Disney Cruise Line, which will be coming out of Singapore for 5 years. And then he's going to be with all the other ones. Like, in some ways, I think this could be the best version of Avengers Assemble.
I think so.
And it's going to be in that really pretty little park. Like, there's something very ironic of how storybook and Disney magic this whole park looks, and we're going to throw Avengers and Deadpool in the middle of it.
Yeah. What I think is truly a crime is that you're calling this the Imagination Garden. Where's Figment? Where is he?
Maybe it's a surprise appearance.
Where is she? Is she safe? Truly though,
that would be cool.
Not to be Anakin Skywalker about Figment, even though I kind of am Anakin Skywalker about Figment. I want it's imagine. You can't use the word imagination at Disney and not have Figment somewhere.
Do you think we're gonna get? So they announced the 4 new Disney cruise ships coming in the next however many years, 7 years, 8 years, whatever it is. Do you think there ends up being a ship named Disney Imagination?
So funny enough, I had this thought last week.
Disney Imagination.
Yeah, Disney. Remember how we couldn't think of a new noun?
Because that one seems like. I mean, honestly, if we're gonna go with that though, you might as well just take the different worlds of Epcot.
Discovery.
So Disney Discovery works. Disney Celebration works.
Disney World Showcase works. I'm kidding.
I mean, on a cruise ship, you are getting a showcase of the world.
Disney Nature. All they do is they play the Nat Geo docs.
Oh, that could be one of the new Nat Geo ships if they make new.
Nat Geo makes ships?
They go on cruises, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So you can go to like Antarctica and like you go to all the really
cold places.
Well, no, it's the adventurous places. You're not
Canada.
You're not going to be spoiled. You're going to get in a small rubber boat and go see whales or something. Yeah. So it keeps it very interesting. But let us know what you think future names of Disney Cruise Line ships could be in the comments, because now I'm intrigued by this.
Yeah. This is a game that you and I have been playing for quite a while, because it's like all the obvious ones were taken, like Dream, Magic, Wonder.
Well, here's my next question, though.
Fantasmic.
Let's assume 2 of these ships are replacing the 2 original ships.
Which is what I think would happen.
So then do you get a new Magic and Wonder?
I don't think so.
Are you sure? I would.
So I don't...
Like, I would do it like Star Trek. No, I just...
would.
Like, maybe not the A, but like... Because in nautical, you would do...
Disney Wonder B.
Well, the 2. So it'd be Disney Magic and then the 2.
I was joking.
Yeah, no, but I'm thinking of like what I would actually do. You don't like that idea? I think it'd be good.
When other cruise lines retire a ship, they traditionally don't use the name again, I think.
Huh.
Like, I think Royal Caribbean, they just sink their ships and they call it a day. I don't think they repurpose the names.
They don't sell the ships?
Well, sometimes they do.
Okay.
But other times they decommission the ships and they go sink them. I think.
Okay.
If I'm lying, don't hold me accountable for that. I am not.
I don't actually know. So I'm like this. I know that some cruise ships are sold to smaller cruise lines.
I'm not.
The ships probably longer than that. But you think of how old the original ships for Disney Cruise Line are. They're old. Like they're getting up in age for a cruise ship.
There's one that's older or my age, I think. I think one's 96,
I think it's
one's
96.
98. And for those just joining us, I was born in 96. So it's like or it might have been 95.
I don't know. I'm sure somebody in the chat will tell. So
but
anyway, let us know in the comments what you think names of new Disney Cruise Line ships should be. Also, let us know what you think of the Disney Adventure. Like, it looks like it's going to be pretty cool.
I'm excited about it.
I think if I recall, it can have 6,700 guests.
Oh, just guests?
Just guests.
Whoa.
And I think it was 2,500 cast members or crew members.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Which is a lot of people. And you think that's going to be a massive ship with a ton of people on it. And it's interesting too, because it's not actually going anywhere. Like, the ship literally just goes out to sea. You go to different parts of the ship, and that's what you do. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Are you okay with your mic?
I don't know.
Oh,
I just realized that my shirt was completely covering it.
Oh, well, nobody said anything, so I think you're fine.
You were like, oh, thank God we cannot hear her for one.
Anyway, it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with this. It'll also be interesting to see if when Deadpool joins Avengers Assemble, will he be part of the actual show, or will it be a tag that he shows up at the end of it, kind of like what they're doing at Avengers Campus at Disney California Adventure?
I do think, and I could be wrong, it's a personality-driven show, baby. The whole thing is based on us sometimes being wrong. But I do think...
It's more fun that way.
It's true. I do think that, in my humble opinion, that I think that what Deadpool was doing at Disneyland was a test.
Oh, I think it's very possible. Yeah.
And I think that this showed them that there was a ton of guest interest.
Well, and also you think of, they did it 2 different ways. So Avengers Campus, you get the personality driven, more not interactive, but you're up close.
Yeah.
Whereas at Disneyland Paris, you're looking from
Very
afar.
far.
It's more stunt driven, which is why I'm like, it seems to me you'd almost be smarter to go with the Disneyland Resort version. That I mean, honestly, if I was on the cruise ship and I had the chance to go watch Storytime with Deadpool, I'm all for it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and it seems like it would be perfect for that space, and change his book from a colored in thing to a pop-up book.
True.
Fits the space.
That'd be really funny.
It'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Deadpool with a pop-up book?
That'd be really good.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. Pop-up chimichangas.
That's good.
It'd be funny. I think it'd be brilliant. You can use that if you want, Disney. We don't care.
Yeah.
Just invite us along to come check it out. That would be amazing. They're like, yeah, we really liked your idea on GEEKS Corner. So let's go on a cruise together. Oh, okay. But yeah, I think that is going to be probably one of the most popular things on the Disney Cruise Line in whatever it is in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I also think you're going to have a ton of people clamoring of like, when is Deadpool going to be on domestic ships or whatever we're going to consider this hemisphere ships. I think that will be very cool too.
Yeah.
And last thought on this is seeing just the garden. Like before I even realized that Deadpool and the Avengers were going to be in it, this made me totally want to go to Singapore and experience this cruise. The only thing that worries me a little bit is the 6,700 guests.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of people. And I'm like, do they have more of these promenades in it, or is it just that one?
And the ship, the Icon class ship that I was on, I think it was only 5,000 passengers. It was like max capacity. I think it was more in like the 4,000 range.
It'd be interesting to do a side-by-side comparison, because this was the Global Dream originally, and it'd be interesting to see like
down the line.
Well, just what are the specs for this one versus something, you know, that Princess has, that Royal Caribbean has, that
Celebrity
Carnival,
has.
that Celebrity, all these.
Yeah.
That might be a fun.
We named cruise lines.
Look at that. It'd be interesting to dig into that and see what we could learn from that. All right, we're gonna move on.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Woo.
I liked that. All right. Another thing that's kind of fun is the themed, what do they call it? The Themed Entertainment Association, otherwise known as TIA, every year releases this report that's on the theme parks and how well they've done basically in terms of attendance. And that report was released this last week. And unsurprisingly, I am so shocked here. Magic Kingdom was the most visited theme park in the world.
No way.
Followed by Disneyland.
No way.
Shocking. I know. I think this year, some years you have time to read the report. Other years I don't. And then I'm like, oh, I should have gone back and read it. It is public. You just Google it and I'm sure you'll find it. I found it fascinating to read about the different theme parks and the growth and not growth, I guess speeds of growth, because everybody seemed to be growing around the globe. So China's the fastest growing theme park arena. Not surprising at all. Also, just because in my own geeky whatever, there was a fire this last week on a former Russian aircraft carrier that was part of a military theme park in China that they were refurbishing to make the central attraction.
Wow.
So like they just have lots of different theme parks, it seems like, in China. And I'm intrigued by all of that. The United States actually was growing way slower than other places in the world.
That also doesn't
Not a huge surprise. They also acknowledged that this was the first year that really the post-pandemic pent-up demand was not the driving force. Whereas last year it was very much, well, within 2022, was very much all of these people have been stuck at home for a year and a half, 2 years. Let's go to the local theme park. And I think anecdotally, the report really validated things that we've seen and experienced when we're in the parks.
Definitely.
And it was interesting because I think Disney had 12 of the top 20 theme parks that were on this list. And there were some that I hadn't heard of. And there was obviously the Universals of the world and some of the Six Flags of the worlds that will be very interesting to see what happens with the merger that happened a couple months ago. This coming year, because currently Disney Experiences as a segment is the #1 theme park operator in the world, and I'm sure everybody, whether it's Universal or Six Flags or whatever, are trying to compete with that.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to look at? I'm sure you didn't read the report, but what do you
I
think
don't know how
of?
to read.
Oh, okay. Well, that.
Yeah.
Once upon a time.
Go on. No, I did not read the report in its entirety.
When in Rome.
Go on. No, I think it is completely fascinating. I am a very numbers-driven person. I love data. I think that data is a much more reliable narrator than anything else, truly. Because it's pretty hard to argue with cold hard facts. I think that anecdotes support that, but that tells us what we're doing.
Well, it validates what we were anecdotally feeling.
True.
I think is what it does.
I think it's fascinating. It's also, I think, to me, what surprises me every time is the fact that it's Magic Kingdom and then Disneyland.
That Disneyland's so high up, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that always surprises me too, because I'm like, oh,
where did all the people go?
Like, and I think if I remember correctly, Epcot had like 2 million more people this year than last year.
Wow.
Which shows the power of new attractions and finishing a transformation. But like, and it'll be interesting to see what the 2024 numbers are, because this year there's
been even more.
Well, it's done, but there's not really a huge opening thing other than that building and the stage.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if the numbers plateau or if they keep going up, or because it's finished and now you can enjoy it, or what. Like, that'll be very interesting to see. And I'm curious. Like, it's a fun thing to geek out about and read about and all of that jazz. Another fun thing to geek out and read about, well, you can't really read about it, but you can enjoy it, is we do have a new indie cam. Enjoy indie being indie. Now, I will say this.
Do you feel good about yourself?
He's a very smart dog most of the time. And I don't know why that kept working.
I don't know either.
Like, that shocked me. I was like, how is this still working? And then I felt bad for it and threw it at the end. But, you know, he keeps things interesting. Other interesting things, the Disneyland Resort announced that the story tells of Plaza de Familia Celebrate Musical World of Coco is coming on August 30th to Disney California Adventure. This looks like it's going to be an enhanced version of the Coco musical show that was back in that corner of the park before. I like what I'm seeing about it. We'll be covering it when it opens. What do you think? Do you have any thoughts on this?
I love the Coco parts, and I love the Day of the Dead sections that they do, and the way that they help honor that culture. So I like to see this getting bigger.
Yeah, I like it too. I also think it's a good way to keep interest in that show building ahead of the Coco attraction whenever that actually
so true, bestie,
eventually opens at Disney California Adventure. And I do feel like, without any official information of any kind, that would be the general area of the park. Like, that southwest corner is where I would probably put something like that. It would kind of make sense to go. That's kind of become a Pixar pathway or something. Like, I don't know what to call it. Like,
new name just dropped.
It's the Pixar pathway. No, they're going to come up. You go from Pixar Pier to Pixar Path, and then from there,
you get on the Pixar Pal Around.
There you go. Anyway, I'm excited for this new show. We'll be covering it, and it will be I think it'll be very fun, and it's such a great musical. So I think it'll be.
There's a bug on my face.
Great.
I was
It'll
doing
be
a little
there.
dance
I think
move.
it's there through November 2nd or 3rd. I'm spacing that at the moment. All right. What we really want to talk about tonight, though, is the Muppets,
But mostly
Miss Piggy. So a week and a day or so
some
ago,
change.
week and a couple days ago, we watched this thing called, go lower, the Muppets. No, that's higher. I want it that way. I can't read the
That
headline.
was not lower.
The Muppets, a Glamorous Miss Piggy Retrospective, which was a look at the last 70 years of the Muppets, but primarily through the lens of how Miss Piggy has been involved with the Muppets. And this, to me, was one of my favorite panels at D23. And it took me a while to get it to the internet and on the website, just because the file was so big. And every time I tried, it's like out of space. Oh, yeah, I don't know. Oh, you know what, Clocky? If we are going to talk about the Muppets, you are right.
Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Mr. Dabbs. Thank you, Mr. Dabbs. Thanks, man. Thanks, Mr. Dabbs. Thank you, Mr. Dabbs. Thanks, man.
And thank you, Clocky. All right.
So we finally got this up on the internet.
So we finally got this up on the internet. You know what? The Muppets are random too.
And you know what? If the Muppet said my name, I would also use that today.
Exactly.
So.
We need to use that as much as we possibly can. Thank you, Clocky.
Until we get
thank
Kermit
you.
saying it.
That would be crazy too. Kermit, if you want, we're always available for an interview. So what ended up happening was they had a representative from Muppet Studios studio. They had Becky Klein from the Walt Disney Archives and Yvette Nicole Brown, who was in Muppets Haunted Mansion. And the three of them were basically the leaders or this panel, and they kind of just had an ongoing conversation for about an hour or so. And we got to see some artifacts from the Walt Disney Archives that were recently given to them by the Muppet Studio. And it's interesting because you kind of assume that the archives already had many of these things, but it turns out it's a recent development. And it also turns out that Becky Klein is a huge Muppet fan, which means we just love her that much more. And she has a whatnot.
I love that woman.
She's amazing. All right.
That whole panel made me so happy.
It's such a good panel. You can watch the whole thing on the website or on our YouTube. And you can also see some of the pictures of the different parts of the panel as well, or the different artifacts. So if you've seen the Muppet movie, one of the things we got to see was
the Miss Bogan County sash.
Exactly. And this was cool because this is what Miss Piggy is wearing when she sees Kermit for the first time. And that was really cool.
I will say I had a very big Muppets fan next to me. And so every time something would happen, like for this, she went, "Oh, Miss Bogan." And like there was just like this very deep appreciation, and it just made me so happy.
I love the genuine fandom.
Yeah.
Like that is sometimes one of the side effects of sometimes being in a press area is everybody's trying to get the story. So you don't always get that moment of appreciation necessarily that people geeking out around you, because you geek out afterwards when you're like, I just saw that. You're like,
when you can process it,
and we're all focusing so much. And so it's fun to hear stuff like that. Next thing we saw was Miss Piggy's bicycle from
Great Muppet Caper.
Which, if you remember, she rides a bicycle first and then the motorcycle later. And apparently the bicycle was in terrible condition. And
they had to compare it to Kermit's bicycle.
And they took it to the shop at Walt Disney Studios, which I think is amazing. It's not like the archives fixed it. They took it down to a shop and they rebuilt it, basically, it sounds like. And that was super cool. We also saw, you want to say something else about that?
No, I was just thinking, like, it was a lot of, like, they were missing the seat. They, like, part of the fender was banged up. And so, like, they restored it to near perfect.
It was beautiful.
They were like, at the end of the day, it wasn't they're not working with it thinking we're keeping history alive. It's like, this is a prop in a movie that we're working on. We don't necessarily.
Which is why they're not always taken care of so well. Then we saw Miss Piggy's Benjamina Gunn costume, which I think exquisite is almost the word you use for that. Like, you see it in the movie and you kind of just go, oh, that's fun, like whatever. But then you see it in person.
As a standalone piece.
And you're like, holy moly, look at the detail on that. The next, I almost hate to call it an artifact, because
a little love.
Yes, which is
Fufu,
who is
That is Miss Piggy's dog.
Yes, in the original Muppet Show. And that was the original puppet. Still, they could still use it, they said.
Yeah.
But they recognized there was a historical reason to send Fufu over to the archives.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an interesting thing, too, because they were talking about how sometimes you want to send the historical thing to save it for posterity,
Mm-hmm.
which means you recreate it, which they're currently working on with Kermit's banjo.
Mm-hmm.
So that means, at least the way I saw it, is every time we've seen Kermit perform with the banjo,
Mm-hmm.
it has been that same one from way back
That's
in
what
the
it
day.
sounded like.
So that's like 40, 50 years old, which blows my mind. What do we see next?
Miss Piggy's engagement ring from Muppets Most
there we
Wanted,
go.
which I thought the detail behind this,
Yes.
fascinating.
Talk about it.
So this is the ring that Constantine proposes to Miss Piggy with
Mhm.
when she thinks that Constantine is Kermit.
Mm-hmm.
The diamond is a black ring because it's supposed to be like dark Kermit.
Mm-hmm.
And also it is not quite as flashy as Miss Piggy is.
Yep.
So it's something about it instinctually feels wrong and not like Miss Piggy when you look at it. And then they went into all these things. And I think costuming is such a fascinating thing because a lot of it is really playing on your subconscious and what you realize. And
It's
so
the emotions that it evokes.
yeah, and so it made so much sense. With Miss Piggy, you would think an engagement ring would be much flashier, much brighter, lots of diamonds. And so the fact that this was a black diamond, not super flashy, doesn't really fit. So
yeah, exactly. And then the final thing was
Miss Piggy's Kermit the Frog Halloween costume from Muppets Haunted Mansion,
which was adorable.
I loved it.
It was very cute. And Yvette Nicole Brown said she'd never seen it that close up. And so she was geeking out about it. And she was even in the show.
Yeah.
But that was very fun to see as well.
It then made me want to see Kermit's Miss Piggy costume, though.
True. Then they had a Q&A with some fascinating things. I totally suggest checking it out, including a couple of really good questions.
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
But the show wrapped up, or the panel wrapped up, with a performance of Never Before, Never Again
by Jodie Benson.
Disney legend Jodie Benson, who one of the things I feel very blessed to have experienced through the years is her singing in multiple forums in specific events I've been at. Going back, I think the first time might have been the opening of Little Mermaid Ariel's Undersea Adventure in Disney California Adventure.
Yeah.
But
which I feel like I have now heard her sing a lot of Muppets.
I've actually heard her more Muppets. I almost feel like
I have never heard her sing Part of Your World.
I've heard that a few times.
I do think I would pass out. Just saying.
There you go. But do you know where I first became aware of Jodie Benson as a person before I realized she was also Little Mermaid?
I feel like I know this story, but continue.
Probably not. Maybe though. She was in a Broadway musical called what was it called? It has a way you can. It's Crazy for You. And so my grandparents had the album.
Oh, I did not know this. No.
And she played the main female lead. And that was, I think, around or before or right after Little Mermaid came out. So that is where I knew Jodie Benson from first. And then along the way, I was like, oh, she also does this. And because you don't really think, in the early 90s, you weren't really thinking about the voices behind the characters. Like that just wasn't something they publicized the same way they do now.
Yeah.
And so when I realized that was a very cool thing. But we have her performance up, we have the Q&As up, we have all of the panel up on our YouTube and also on dapsmagic.com. So make sure to check all of that out. You won't regret it. It was such a fascinating panel, I thought. And what was your favorite, Katie? What was your favorite artifact from this?
I want to say Fufu because I was surprised that Fufu was in that good of condition.
I agree.
Like
totally usable.
Well, and that is a very large, and especially when we talked about this earlier, it was a prop on a movie. They weren't necessarily going, oh, treat this with white gloves and do all this.
Well, TV show, but yeah.
No, I was saying.
Oh, for the other stuff.
For the other stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And like the bike, how the bike was given back and it was not in great condition necessarily.
I do wonder if maybe they took better care of Fufu than
Because
other
she
things because
was-
she was actually used still.
Yeah. But I just think it's crazy when something that large and used that frequently is in that good of condition. I've just found that very impressive.
I agree. Welcome to Geeks Corner Plus. If you have any questions about this panel or something else, or just want to tell us something that you love about the Muppets, or more importantly, perhaps Miss Piggy, let us know in the chat. He walked away, Katie.
Oh, the little
And,
star was here.
He was. But let us know in the chat, and we will respond to those things in the next couple of minutes before we run out of time, or Katie goes and chases a dog.
I was trying to get him on screen. The people love him.
That would be hard.
I was going to pick him up.
Oh, that
The
would be,
people love him.
that would be hard too.
It's not that hard.
We're up a couple of feet more than
Yeah, and
traditionally.
I can pick him up.
Like, I was realizing, basically with our current setup, I can stand up and it works.
This is me standing up.
Yeah, it works.
I think I'm actually a little bit shorter than
You are,
when I'm sitting
which
down.
is why, but I'm a little bit taller,
But
which
I'm
is
not
why I
short.
decided to sit down again.
Just so you guys know, I don't know on the internet how tall you guys think I am, but I'm not short. So I just wanted to make some things clear around here.
It's clear.
I don't want people to be like, you know, I know Katie from the internet. I think she's pretty short. No, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it matters, but it matters to me.
Okay, there you go. All right,
Going back.
we are running out of time. Katie, what should people do?
You should go to dapsmagic.com, check out all the Disney and Geek news as it happens. You can subscribe to our mailing list so you don't miss anything, because there is a lot of news happening lately. And from our mailing list and from dapsmagic.com, you can also find our Patreon. You can get your name here in the credits on Geeks Corner. You can also get really just fun, exclusive things that we do over there on the Patreon.
Or ask for things.
Or ask for things.
Like
Again.
Bailey right now is asking for the dog.
Oh, I can go get
Which
him.
isn't going to work. No, we're going to put it on Patreon right afterwards.
Okay.
You're going to go get him right after this and do a
He's-
video with him
he's
for
in his
Patreon.
pool.
He's in his pool in the background. But that's what we're going to do. All right. Also, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got a ton of videos still going up. I've still got more D23 videos. We have Halloween stuff coming this week. We have Oogie Boogie stuff coming this week. We have Not Scary Farm stuff coming this week. It is a big week for Halloween for Daps Magic, so we will be covering all of that stuff. And I think we're going to have, hopefully, another Magic Happens video from Thursday, which is his last day of the year as well this week. But that is all the time we have for you this week. So we will see you around the corner.
Bye.